What's up, vapors? Thanks for checking out Spinfuel's Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Continuous Current Manhattan V2. So for those of you that don't know, Continuous Current is a company started by Kyle Kruger, who was formerly of AmeriVape. He decided to branch off and start his own thing, and as you can see here, this mod is highly influenced by the original Manhattan mod, especially in the switch housing, which we'll get to in a little bit. This mod features a hybrid 510 connection for reduced voltage drop, a recessed magnetic button with more ventilation than the Manhattan V1. It has a flush appearance with all batteries and atomizers due to the slight ridge here, but I'll show you that in the close-ups. And it's also 24 millimeters in diameter, so it has slightly thicker walls than your average 22 millimeter mod, which also allows for better conductivity. This mod is available in anodized aluminum, as you can see here. There's numerous different colors available right now. It also is in media blasted aluminum, as well as naval brass and tellurium copper, which is pretty good for you cloud chasers out there. If you want something that hits really hard, you got to go with either the brass or the copper version of this thing. However, the aluminum does hit really, really hard itself. So if you go to Continuous Current's website, which is ccvapeco.com, I'll have the link in the description. They're having a Halloween flash sale right now on the orange edition of the Manhattan V2. Now you got to get these things while they last. The prices start at $135 for the normal anodized aluminum versions, and the sandblasted aluminum as well. The naval brass is going to be $155. The copper is $190. Yeah, $190. And the stainless steel version is $165. So there you go. It's also available in stainless steel. It's not mentioned on the main page, but it's under the color options. So anyways, let's go into the close-up view of this and we'll get a better look at it. Alright guys, so here we have the Continuous Current Manhattan V2. We're going to go through it from the top to the bottom for you. So first up is the hybrid 510 connection. All the threads are really nice and smooth on this thing. Everything fits really nicely on here except for my 24 millimeter atomizers. But the 22s really fit nice and flush, especially since you can't see any gaps because of this little ridge right here. One thing that concerns me is the original Kennedy comp atomizer. Since it has air holes on the bottom, it kind of butts up against this bottom plate here, and condensation can build up, which means it can get inside the battery compartment. So you just got to be careful if you're using a Kennedy comp on this thing. Otherwise, everything is really nice on here. So this whole top section also threads off, which is meant to be used for the warhead atomizer. And there's the inside of the 510 connection. And also one thing to really be careful of is do not use any ripped positive battery connectors or crushed battery connectors or anything like that with this thing, because it can arc with the top cap, so you got to be very, very careful with that as well. So we're just going to put that back together. You can really hear the threads. They're very, very smooth, not crunchy whatsoever. So yeah, there's the top section there. You can see the engravings, really nice, elegant engravings. I love the logo, and it does not really interrupt your finger whatsoever. It doesn't really, feel any different when you run your finger over it, which is nice. Here's the bottom half of the tube and the switch housing. You can really tell just by looking at this piece here that it's highly influenced by the Manhattan V1. And you can see here the copper connection there with your 4 vent holes and a C-clip holding in the top half of the magnet. We're just going to go ahead and take that piece out. And one thing you got to be careful of is that magnet just, doing that. That can get annoying. They're very strong magnets, so you got to be really careful. So here's your switch itself. No engravings on that, but I don't think any are necessary in my opinion. There you go. Hopefully you guys can see that. Hopefully, yeah. It's in focus. Alright. And I'm not going to take the C-clip out because that is a big pain. But there you can see the vent holes going through the other side. And that's if your battery happens to vent on you. And the little tiny copper pin. Pretty much the same thing as the Vape version. And now we're going to just put this back together. You got to make sure your magnet is resisting. And this can kind of be a little bit of trouble sometimes, but if you just do it a few times, you get used to it. There we go. And it's important to always make sure that stays nice and snug because it can back out a little bit from time to time. And hopefully you guys can see that little bit. It just barely sticks out on this side, but it does not wobble. I'll tell you that much. When you place it down on a table, it does not wobble. Alright, so that pretty much does it for the close-up section. Let's go back to the main screen, have a quick vape, and talk about it some more. Alright guys, let's move on to some pros, some cons, and whether or not I would purchase this device. First up, my pros. The switch feels good. That's one thing I really like about this. It's smooth. It gives a good amount of resistance. It's never going to fire in my pocket or if I put it down on a table or anything like that. I know that that is not going to fire at all if I'm not pressing the button down. It gives a decent amount of resistance in a pretty short throw considering. I've never had a misfire on this thing, which is really good. I've seen that a few times with the Vape or Avid mods, but on this one I've never had a misfire, which is a really good thing. Second pro is going to be it hits hard for aluminum. This is an aluminum mod, but it is 24 millimeters in diameter, so I think the extra thick walls on this thing really make for a hard-hitting mod, and the aluminum versions are really cheap, so that's also a good thing. We'll get to that in a second. The third pro is going to be the fact that it makes my 22 millimeter atomizers look good. I gotta say that this setup right here looks amazing with my Kennedy 22 on top. It looks great with tugboats or any other atomizers that you want to throw on there. They also make the tactical warhead, which start at 35 bucks, which come in the same color schemes as the mods themselves. And then you have the option of the warhead atomizer. We'll get to that in a second. It's simple, elegant, and cheap. That's pretty much it as far as a pro goes. I mean, what you see is what you get. It's a hard-hitting mod for starting at 135 bucks. Can't go wrong with that. I love the logo. Logo is great, and it's just overall nice. It's nice looking. So let's get to some cons. My first con is going to be the fact that my Kennedy 24 doesn't fit, and I know a lot of people are going to be starting to make 24 millimeter form atomizers, which will not work with this thing. I did see a review on the page. It said someone sold them a Manhattan V2 with a Kennedy 24, which I do feel bad for them because I know for a fact that that does not work. If screwed on right, the 510 does not quite reach all the way through the hybrid connection, and it sits on top of the little ridge here, which is kind of annoying. My second con is going to be the fact that the atomizer that's meant for this thing, the warhead, is a bit expensive. It's $120. So that itself is a little bit pricey and makes the overall cost of this thing well over, $250. So that's kind of unfortunate for the fact that, if you're looking for something that's really hard hitting, I would probably tend to go with the rig mod with the roughneck over one of these things here. And my third and final con is the fact that it just kind of lacks innovation. I mean, I know I said that it's simple and elegant and clean and everything, but you can really tell that there's nothing new about this switch except for the added ventilation. And overall, I just think they could have done something a little bit better with it and maybe added an adjustment in the bottom to eliminate the need for the ridge at the top here. So overall, it just kind of plain and simple. That can be a good thing in some people's eyes, a bad thing in others. So there you go. There's my thoughts on the Manhattan V2 and whether or not I would purchase this device if I did not receive it for free for the purpose of review. I actually bought this thing. I entered a silent auction and I got it for way cheaper than the asking retail price for it. So I'm really not too mad about that fact. But if I had to pay full price for it, I'd probably say if I can get it any cheaper than $150, then yeah. Most retail shops like brick and mortars are going to have it for above $150. So if you can get it for cheaper, like on their website or the Halloween flash sale that they're doing, go for it. Buy these things up because they're not going to be making them anymore, and you're not going to see the Manhattan V2 for very long. So that about does it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. All your support is really appreciated. Thank you guys so much. Just hit over 250,000 views, so that's awesome. You guys are great. Don't forget to check out my social media pages. All the links are in the description below, as well as the link to Continuous Current's website if you want to pick one of these things up. So if you want to check out more of my videos, don't forget to subscribe and check out spinfuel.com. You can see my videos there as well as Smoke and Joey and Spinfuel official videos. And as always, vape on.